Oxford City have the smallest stadium in the playable English leagues in Football Manager 23, with just 529 seats. So today I'm going to take Oxford City and give them a 150,000 seater stadium, the biggest you can get in Football Manager. I've also ensured that the minimum and maximum club attendances are also 150,000, so theoretically they should get 150,000 people coming to every single game. Now all we need to do is just simulate into the future and see what happens. But before we do that, make sure you do drop a like on the video for me and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. And let's also check the pre-season preview to see that Oxford are meant to come 13th in Season 1. Also, they've only got £60,000 in the bank account right now, but with 150,000 people coming every single match to watch them, surely that's going to have a big impact on the finances. And will all that money help them get promoted, or are they going to get stuck in the lower reach of the football because they've not got the reputation, despite the massive stadium, to bring in the quality players they need to get promotions? And so a year into the future, I've made myself the Oxford City manager, and as we can see, they've come second in the table, losing in the playoff semi-finals to Hampton and Richmond, who went on to go and win the playoff final. Bath City, by the way, dominated this division. But Oxford had £60,000 in the bank account before. What have they got now? 41 million! They have also lost £11 million this past month. What have they spent it on this last month? They spent £13.8 million on other. Amount of miscellaneous expenses such as advertising, supplies and other general expenses. So, fair enough. And filtering their fixtures by the home attendance, as you can see, every single game is virtually 142,000, and I'm assuming it's not 150,000 because they've got quite a big away allocation for every single game. So obviously the away fans in this division aren't bringing 7,500 fans to the stadium to fill it out to 150k. So they're selling out the home allocations, but not quite the away ones. And to be fair, the money is trickling down into the squad. They've got one man here, Josh Clark, on £6,000 per week. They brought him in from Dartford, another team in the same division by the looks of things, but for £6,000 a week. So now let's jump just 2 years in the future to 2025. Have a quick look and see if they've got themselves promoted from the National League South in those 2 extra seasons. And they have done. They're up to 3rd in the table, just missing out on automatic promotion by a single point. What a title race this was between Ebbsfleet, Havant, Waterlooville, Oxford City and Aldershot, all finishing within 3 points of each other. But luckily, Oxford beat Havant and Waterlooville 2-1 in the playoff final. Wow, interestingly, the attendances have dropped all the way down from 142,000 to just 22,000 at the most, really. And I guess that's a very quick impact there. My hypothesis for this is that the club's reputation is so low, fans are quickly realising that there's no point watching Oxford City when they could watch Oxford United instead, or other clubs with a higher reputation. So we won't touch reputation, but I will go back in and boost up the club's minimum attendance to 150,000 once again. It has had a bit of an impact, as you can see, on the club's finances. Only £31 million in the balance now, which is still pretty good for a National League South side. And wages are still massively inflated as well. This guy, Josh Ashby, on nearly £12,000 per week in the National League South, which is wild. But actually looks like he was an existing player at Oxford City. They just gave him a massive contract extension. And to be fair, with a 7.26 average rating this past season, maybe deserves it. Although maybe not £12,000 in this division. This time though, let's jump further into the future and go to 2040. Again, making myself the Oxford City manager, we can see that Oxford City have come 4th in League One. Oh, that's not too bad, is it? They lost to Chesterfield 2-1 in the final. Oh, that's so agonising for Oxford City not to get promoted. Was it a late goal for Chesterfield? If I can actually click into the result, it was a late goal for Chesterfield, 81st minute. Oh my word, look at this bank balance, 85.5 million, and that's actually the lowest. Like in the sort of 2030s, earlier on, like 5 years ago, they had £210 million in the bank account. How? And again, the reputation is obviously dropping a little bit because the stadium is only filling up to about 40,000 or so. So there's a good 110,000 seats empty for home games for Oxford City. We won't touch it again though. I want to just see how it naturally fluctuates over the next 10, 20, 30 years or so. But actually that was a really recent downturn in attendances. If we go back just 2 seasons, the average was about 76,000 fans or so, although they did lose a lot of games in the Championship a few years ago, so they've been as high as the Championship. Wow, look at this graph. We saw them get promoted last time to the National League, where they instantly got relegated, weirdly. Took 2 seasons to bounce back up, but then went on a massive upward trend, getting promoted quite quickly into League 2, into League 1, and into the Championship, and actually been yo-yoing around the Championship and the top end of League 1 for a little while now. But yeah, as you can see, the minimum club attendance is 37,500, but the maximum is 180,000, which is bizarre, because if you hover into this, the maximum value set is 150,000, so something is slightly broken there. Looks like they've only had a couple of facility upgrades done in recent years as well. They've not put much money into those facilities. Clearly the playing budget has been a lot more important. They also temporarily moved to Oxford United Stadium as well, and this must have been when they first got promoted from the National League to the Football League, because their current real-life stadium is a synthetic pitch, and in the Football League it has to be a grass pitch. So obviously it does say there, grass pitch installed, so they had to have a little bit of a break to go to Oxford United Stadium, who by the way are 18th in League 2, so Oxford City are the best team from Oxford now. But my word, these wages are outrageous for League 1. Top earners on £29,000 per week. Now, potentially, you could take it with a pinch of salt. These could be Championship wages, as they have just been relegated from the Championship, as we saw, but they're still insane for this division. Right, this time we're going to jump 20 years into the future to 2060, 40 years on virtually from the start of this experiment. And Oxford have come a very respectable 13th place in the Championship. I wonder if they've got to the Premier League just yet with all of this money and massive stadium. Oh, something's happened here. They've only got £1.8 million in the bank account, which is a lot less than 210 million they had about 25 years ago. I mean, very recently they had £27 million in the bank account, but obviously, I guess as the natural decline of people wanting to go to an Oxford City game just drops off, this is what happens. Oh, and those projections are... make you feel sick. So filtering this by home attendances, they're getting a very healthy 38, 39, 40,000 or so. 35 this season before that. Some games up to 60,000. That was actually a derby against Oxford United there, as you can see. That's why that one was so popular. But that does suggest that Oxford United brought about 26,000 fans of their own. But yeah, they seem to be hovering, well, that was 30,000 that season. So actually they've gone up a little bit in recent years. But this is... it doesn't explain where the money's gone. You could argue it's gone into the playing budget, £44,000 a week there, 40,000, 32, 30, 29. It's not outrageous. Well, it is. It is outrageous for a Championship club, but for a Championship club looking for promotion to the Premier League, it's not that outrageous. I mean, Sheffield United won the league and they've got a player on £145,000 a week, 69, 67, 63. So actually, yeah, it's fairly reasonable for the Championship. They do have a bank loan of 3.3 million. But that shouldn't really do anything bad. The club's minimum attendance is now 18,750, but the maximum is still 182,000 out of 150,000. So again, something maybe slightly broken there. And only very slowly upgrading facilities along the way, so it's not like they spent all the money on getting the top quality facilities at all. Although, obviously they've got a massive, massive stadium, and last season they spent 18 million on ground maintenance. And this season so far, this month, 10 million. Okay, so they must have like one big expenditure every single year for ground maintenance, I guess. But the past 20 years or so, they have been pretty much an established Championship team. Their highest finish was 7th a couple of seasons ago, so they never actually reached the playoffs of the Championships. Is that going to be the highest we've ever seen them? Because they seem to be sort of finding their level. It's going to take a big effort to get to the Premier League. Let's jump another 15 years in the future and see if they got there. Well, in 2075, they're not in the Premier League. They've just come 16th in the Championship. But if you look at the club's history, they never got there. In fact, they got actually relegated back down to League 1 for a couple of seasons, got promoted last season in second place, and this is their first season back in the Championship since they got relegated in 2069. But 2 League 1 titles, a League 2 title, and 4 Papa John's trophies is not too bad from this experiment. Average attendances are sort of between 35 and 40,000 there as well, so very respectable, really, actually. But in a hypothetical world where you give a non-league club 150,000 seats a stadium, they do pretty well out of it. If you guarantee there's going to be a lot of fans coming to every single game. The money they made was amazing to start off with, but unfortunately just couldn't last. Speaking of small teams though, how about seeing some of the smallest countries in the world taking part in their own FIFA World Cup? That video for you is on screen right now.